According to the Detroit News, quote, Jim was always that guy, the friendly guy, the guy who would stick his neck out for you, and the guy who said, hey, look, you need some help? You need anything? I'm the guy to come to, Ortiz said. Jim will definitely be missed, end quote. WWJ 950 overnight anchor Jim Matthews was with his girlfriend and 2 children in their Detroit area condo in the early afternoon with a man who was a neighbor, Arthur Williamson, who lived across the street and had been invited into the home sometime in the middle of the night, Macomb County prosecutor Peter Lucido told reporters on Monday, September 26. It is believed that Matthews arrived to the home around 6 a.m. on Friday, and Williamson's relationship with the victims is not immediately clear yet. Jim Matthews, 57, was found dead, bludgeoned with a hammer at his home in Chesterfield Township, northeast of Detroit. His girlfriend, Nicole Guertin, 35, was possibly gagged and stabbed multiple times. His 10-year-old son was found tied up in a closet inside the home with blunt force injuries to his head, and his 5-year-old daughter was injured as well. Nicole Guertin, despite her injuries, was able to escape the home with her daughter and flag down a bystander who called 911. Arthur Williamson was also found inside the home in the basement and was reportedly overdosing on heroin and was suffering from a self-inflicted wound. He was revived with Narcan and transported to the hospital for medical attention and was reported to be in stable condition after the incident. And although it is still unclear what was the motive for this attack, it appears that Williamson knew the family well and was in the home on previous occasions. There were also no signs of breaking and entering, but the timeline of what happened between Matthews' arrival at home around 6 a.m. and 12 noon is still unclear. But Joe Nicolai offers up his own explanation as to why this attack happened to his brother and his family. Joe says, according to Law and Crime, quote, there is no motive. I don't know why he was in the house. I talked to the lead investigator, and my brother probably came home to this. He comes home about 5:30 in the morning and was probably surprised and attacked, Nicolai told the station. I believe that Matthew's son was trying to fight off this man that was attacking and trying to kill his father, and that's how Hunter ended up injured and tied up into a closet, end quote. As the investigation continues, views may change and evidence may become more clear, but at this point there are still more questions than answers. According to Law and Crime, quote, Nicolai also spoke about Matthews, whose legal name was Jim Nicolai. He loved taking care of his kids. He loved being on the radio, Nicolai reportedly said. He used to play radio when he was a kid. He would play DJ. That was his passion. He was a really amazing person, end quote. Jim Matthews' last name was a pseudonym. His brother, Joe Nicolai, lives next door to Jim, and when the crime happened, his wife Jennifer attended to Nicole when she escaped the home and was outside injured and bleeding in a parking lot. Arthur Levin Williamson, 55, was charged with 7 felony charges in New Baltimore's 42-2 District Court, including first-degree murder, felony murder, 2 counts of assault with intent to murder, and 3 counts of unlawful imprisonment. He's being held without bond at Macomb County Jail. According to the Detroit News, quote, court records show Williamson, who was arraigned on his 55th birthday Monday, has a criminal history that dates back at least 30 years. Since 1993, Williamson has racked up convictions for assault, assault with intent to commit murder, kidnapping, illegal weapons possession, drugs, and violations for assaulting and resisting and obstructing a police officer, according to the Michigan Department of Corrections. He was on parole on a breaking and entering conviction out of Clinton County until January, 8 months before police say he stabbed Matthews. Williamson's arraignment came as Matthews' friends and co-workers are reeling from his death, calling him a devoted father and journalist, end quote. Joe Nicolai also stated, and I'm paraphrasing, that he thinks Nicole may have met Williamson at a recovery group and said she may have been manipulated because she is a loving person who wouldn't hurt a fly.
Sir, you had a chance to review your rights with this attorney, correct?
Yes.
Do you have any question on your rights?
No.
Court will grant court-appointed attorney at the end of the case. You'll be required to repay any court-appointed fees. Do you understand that, sir?
Yes.
Are you satisfied with this attorney's advice and his services today?
Yes.
Court will enter a not guilty plea. Court has reviewed the file. Court appreciates the prosecutor being here, the detective in charge being here. Obviously, having our house counsel here that's already reviewed with the defendant the charges of the case. They have waived formal reading of the case. Court in reviewing the matter will note that Michigan Court Rule 6.106 capital B, number 1, lowercase a, small letter I, allows the court to consider a denial of bail, Mr. Williamson, whenever there are charges that appear to be legitimate in terms of murder or violent felonies. As a result, the court has made a ruling, sir, that your bond will be denied. There will be no bond set today, sir. And you will have the right to have your next hearing at the appropriate dates.
Your Honor, may we approach?
No.
Your Honor.
No. There will be no approaching of the court at this point. We already have heard from Mr. Williamson that he reviewed his rights, that he understands his rights. Both attorneys, the prosecutor and the defense, have an opportunity to argue that there is a bond, but the court has already made the ruling that the bond is going to be denied. There will be no bond set, no bail set today, sir. You will have your next hearing within the 1421-day court rule. On October 5th, 2022, you'll have your probable cause conference at 9 a.m. Should you wish to have an exam, sir, you have a right to have an exam, where the state must prove by probable cause that a crime was committed by probable cause you're involved in it, and that will be October 12th, 2022 at 9 a.m. Both prosecutor and defense may, at the next hearing of the probable cause conference, may appeal my particular bond ruling to the judge. Judge Hackle will be there on October 5th, 2022 to hear any arguments. This matter is closed.
With all due respect, Your Honor, may we approach now with respect to bond?
No. Bond has been denied. People have got what they would likely seek. The ability of not having Mr. Williamson as a danger to the community. Court sees that certainly this is a matter with 7 felony charges, including a premeditated homicide, a homicide felony murder, and 5 other serious assaulted crimes. Court understands that the people would be requesting a consideration of not having a bond. The court agrees that in this matter, bond should be denied. The court rule allows this court to make a ruling of denying bond. The court has done so.
Jim Matthews' 10-year-old boy is in critical but stable condition, and the 5-year-old girl has been released from the hospital. The mother is in stable condition but is still being held for observation. There is a lot to uncover in this horrific crime, and hopefully because all but one of the victims is still alive, including the attacker, maybe a lot of unanswered questions will be answered eventually. I will follow the story as more developments occur. Arthur Williamson has pled not guilty.
We're learning more about the man accused of these heinous crimes. Court records show Williamson has a lengthy and troubling criminal past. 7 investigator Ross Jones continues our team coverage with what he's uncovered.
Before being accused of a series of violent attacks on these streets behind me, Arthur Williamson had amassed a criminal history of almost 30 years. In 1994, a jury convicted Williamson of 2 drug charges of delivering or manufacturing less than 50 grams of narcotics. He would spend almost 8 years in prison. 3 months after his release in April of 2002, he would be accused of assault with intent to commit murder, kidnapping, and 2 firearm offenses. Convicted of all 4, Williamson was locked up until 2011. 2 years after that, police accused him of breaking and entering and assaulting or resisting a police officer. He was convicted and stayed behind bars until 2018. The following year came his latest conviction, this time for aggravated assault and interfering with electronic communications. Williams pleaded no contest, but this time was not sentenced to prison. He was still on probation when he was accused of killing Jim Matthews. And a judge denied Williamson bond. He remains locked up in the Macomb County Jail. From Chesterfield Township, I'm Ross Jones, 7 Action News.
And we are updating our top story this afternoon, and it's one that's hitting home for us here at WWJ, and it's very difficult to report. Our overnight news anchor, Jim Matthews, was killed this afternoon in Chesterfield Township. As you heard, Jim's girlfriend and 2 children are currently hospitalized. Jim worked as the overnight news anchor here for nearly 7 years. He would often talk to coworkers about his children and his love for them and their adventures at school. He was a consummate professional and was dedicated to WWJ and the broadcasting industry. He loved delivering the latest news to his listeners every night. There have been many tears shed in our newsroom this afternoon. Our thoughts and our prayers go out to Jim's family and friends.
One of the nicest guys you ever want to meet, always willing to sit down and talk to you, always friendly, no matter whether it was midnight, 5 a.m., whatever time it was that he was here. Jim was always that guy, the friendly guy, the guy who would stick his neck out for you, and the guy who said, hey, look, you need some help, you need anything, I'm the guy to come to. So Jim will definitely be missed.
Huge loss.
Bloopers. According to the Detroit News quote, court records show Williamson, who was arraigned on his 55th birthday, There were also no signs of breaking and entering, and the timeliness of what happened between